According to animal behaviorists, some of the most normal things we do every day can quietly hurt our cats, not intentionally, not out of cruelty, but out of simple misunderstanding. That's the part that makes it uncomfortable to hear, because most of these habits feel completely harmless. They're things loving cat owners do all the time without a second thought. But the truth is, small daily behaviors can slowly chip away at your cat's sense of safety, their health, and even the trust they place in you. And the difficult part is that cats rarely make a big dramatic scene about it. And they don't shout or demand explanations. They adapt, they withdraw, they change in quiet ways we often miss. Today we're going to talk about 6 everyday things that can hurt your cat far more than most people realize. And if you've done some of these before, you're not alone. Almost every cat owner has this. What matters is understanding them now. The first one is something almost everyone has done at least once: yelling at your cat when they do something wrong. Maybe they knocked a glass off the counter. Maybe they jumped onto the stove or scratched the couch you just bought. In that moment, frustration hits fast, and before you even think about it, you raise your voice, you shout their name, and maybe you clap your hands or stomp toward them. It feels instinctive, almost automatic. But inside your cat's mind, something very different is happening than what we expect. Cats don't process discipline the way humans or even dogs often do. They don't connect your yelling with the action that just happened. Instead, they connect the loud voice and sudden energy with you. Studies in feline behavior have shown that cats exposed to frequent yelling or harsh vocal reactions develop higher levels of chronic stress and are more likely to show behavioral problems like hiding, aggression, or avoiding the litter box. And from their perspective, they didn't learn that action was wrong. And what they learned is that their human can suddenly become loud and unpredictable. And that unpredictability slowly erodes trust. Think about it this way. If every time you walked into a room, someone randomly shouted at you, even if they had their reasons, eventually you would start feeling uneasy around them. That's the emotional space many cats enter when yelling becomes common in the home. And if you're hearing this and realizing you've done it before, don't beat yourself up about it. Most of us have. What matters is shifting toward quieter redirection and patience. Cats respond far better to calm consistency than sudden volume. The second everyday mistake is never letting your cat truly hunt. At first, that might sound strange. After all, most indoor cats are well fed. They have toys scattered around the house. Some even have automatic feeders and climbing trees. But here's something important about cats that many people overlook. Hunting isn't just about food, it's about mental survival. In the wild, a cat's brain follows a natural sequence: stalk, chase, pounce, catch, kill, eat. That pattern isn't just instinct. It's deeply wired into their nervous system. When indoor cats never get the chance to complete even part of that sequence, something inside them begins to stagnate. They may sleep more and more each day, becoming what people casually call lazy. But many behaviorists now believe that what we interpret as laziness is often boredom and mental starvation. Research in feline health journals has found that cats without regular interactive play show higher rates of obesity, compulsive grooming, aggression, and depression-like behaviors. The solution isn't complicated or expensive. 10 or 15 minutes a day with a wand toy, something that mimics prey movement across the floor, can awaken a completely different side of your cat. You'll see their pupils widen, their body lower to the ground, their focus sharpen. It's the ancient hunter waking up again. And if you've ever played with a cat like that and suddenly thought, wow, I didn't know they had that energy in them, then you've seen exactly what we're talking about. By the way, if you're listening to this and it's making you look over at your cat a little differently right now, maybe noticing the small things you hadn't thought about before, that's exactly why conversations like this matter. And if you enjoy content that helps you understand your cat on a deeper level, consider liking the video or subscribing. Not in a pushy way, just because it helps more cat owners stumble across information that could make life better for the animals sharing their homes. The third habit that can quietly harm your cat is feeding only dry kibble. Dry food is convenient, it's affordable, it stores easily, and you can leave it out longer without worrying about spoilage. For busy households, it feels like the perfect solution, but there's a biological detail about cats that changes the picture completely. Cats evolved from desert-dwelling ancestors, and because of that history, their bodies developed a very unusual relationship with water. Unlike many animals, cats do not have a strong natural thirst drive. In the wild, they receive most of their hydration from the prey they consumed, which typically contained around 70% moisture. Dry kibble, on the other hand, often contains around 10% moisture. That difference may not sound dramatic at first, but over months and years, it can leave a cat living in a constant state of mild dehydration. Veterinary studies have consistently shown that cats eating moisture-rich diets consume significantly more total water than cats eating dry food alone, even when fresh water is always available. Over time, chronic dehydration places extra stress on the kidneys and urinary tract, which are already vulnerable areas for cats as they age. Kidney disease remains one of the leading causes of death in older cats, and diet plays a role in that long-term risk. The encouraging part is that improvement doesn't require a complete overhaul. Even adding wet food a few times a week or mixing it into one daily meal can significantly increase moisture intake. It's one of the simplest changes that can have a profound impact on long-term feline health. The fourth everyday mistake happens during one of the sweetest moments between humans and cats, petting them. You're sitting together, maybe on the couch or in bed, and your cat curls up beside you. Naturally, your hand reaches out and you begin stroking their fur the way you might pet a dog. Long strokes down the back, maybe rubbing the belly if it's exposed. And suddenly, out of nowhere, your cat bites or swats your hand. It feels confusing and even a little unfair, but in many cases, the problem isn't aggression at all. It's overstimulation. A cat's skin is extremely sensitive and filled with nerve endings. Certain areas, like the base of the tail, the belly, and the lower back, can shift from pleasurable to overwhelming very quickly. Scientists call this petting-induced overstimulation. Research on feline handling has shown that cats tend to experience the lowest stress responses when touched around the cheeks, chin, and base of the ears. These are areas where cats naturally groom each other in social bonding. When we focus on those zones and allow the cat to lean into the contact rather than controlling the petting ourselves, interactions tend to last longer and remain positive. And here's a detail many people don't realize. When a cat shows you their belly, it usually isn't an invitation for a rub, it's a gesture of trust. It means they feel safe enough to expose their most vulnerable area. Respecting that trust by avoiding the belly often keeps the moment peaceful instead of turning it into confusion. If you've ever had a moment like that with your cat where you thought everything was going perfectly and then suddenly got a tiny bite, you're definitely not alone. Honestly, almost every cat owner has that story. If you want, share it in the comments. Hearing those little moments from other cat people is one of the best reminders that we're all learning together. The fifth everyday habit that can cause hidden stress is where we place the litter box. Most people tuck it away somewhere out of sight, behind a washing machine, in a dark basement corner, inside a closet, or squeezed between pieces of furniture. From a human perspective, that makes perfect sense. Litter boxes aren't exactly decorative. We'd rather not see or smell them all day. But from your cat's perspective, that hidden location can feel like a trap. Cats occupy a unique position in nature. They are both predators and prey. That means vulnerability is always in the back of their instincts. When a cat uses the litter box, they are in a physically vulnerable posture. If the box is placed somewhere with limited visibility or only one escape route, their survival instincts can trigger anxiety during something that should be routine. Behavioral studies have found that litter box placement and accessibility are major factors behind many eliminations problems. In other words, when a cat starts going outside the box, it may not be a behavioral rebellion at all. It may simply be discomfort with the environment surrounding the box. Many experts recommend placing litter boxes in open, quiet areas with multiple paths of exit and following the number of cats plus one rule. That means if you have one cat, you ideally have 2 boxes, and 2 cats, 3 boxes. It gives cats options and reduces territorial tension between them. The 6th and final habit might be the most surprising of all, leaving your cat alone for long periods while assuming they don't really care. For decades, cats have carried the reputation of being emotionally distant, almost indifferent to their humans. You've probably heard someone say, cats don't need attention like dogs do, but modern research is painting a very different picture. Studies examining feline attachment have shown that cats form genuine emotional bonds with their caregivers, displaying patterns of secure or insecure attachment similar to those seen in dogs and even human infants. That means your presence matters far more than we once believed. When a cat spends 10 or 12 hours alone every day, they may appear calm when you return, but that quiet reaction can be misleading. Cats often cope with loneliness by withdrawing rather than expressing distress. Over time, prolonged isolation can contribute to anxiety, overgrooming, appetite changes, and behavioral issues. The good news is that even small efforts can make a big difference. Rotating toys before leaving for work, setting up window perches so they can watch birds or passing cars, or spending a few intentional minutes connecting when you come home can strengthen your bond in ways that mean the world to them. And before we finish, I want to say something personal for a moment. If you've made it this far into the video, it probably means you care deeply about your cat. The truth is, none of us get everything right the first time. Every cat owner has looked back and realized there were things they didn't understand yet. What matters is paying attention, learning, and doing a little better tomorrow than we did yesterday. If you found something here that made you think differently about your cat, consider subscribing so we can keep learning together, not because a channel needs numbers, but because every bit of knowledge shared means another cat somewhere gets a home that understands them a little more. At the end of the day, your cat doesn't measure love by perfect behavior. They measure it by safety, patience, and presence. To them, you are not just the person who fills the food bowl. You are the center of their universe. And sometimes the smallest adjustments in how we live with them can make that universe feel a lot safer.